here we are with something special this week. We have commentary track for the very first time on the Absent Friend channel. And with us, we have these wonderful, wonderful podcasters from the Happy Horror Time podcast. From left to right, we have Tim Murdoch, Matt Emmert, and Jacob Randall. Let's give it up for these wonderful fellas.
Hi. Hey,
All
how's it
right.
going?
It's going good. How about you guys?
Great.
All
What a
right,
perfect
so
time to talk about the perfect game.
absolutely. Well, well, we'll get into that in a minute. So at the time of recording, this is fresh off Tim's ranking of Friday the 13th. So this is also very close to that. So while the video is just kind of doing the intro to the game, and I'm just blabbering on and on about it, why don't we start with Tim and say, Tim, just tell us one thing about why you're drawn to Friday the 13th so much.
I think it was when I was a child, it was forbidden. So I think when you're younger, you always want to be like, what's that all about? So once I did find it, I loved it.
Yeah, Matt?
A Friday the 13th?
Yeah.
I mean, it came at a time when I was really into horror and into slashers and into series, and it was just really fun to go from installment to installment and have different final girls to root for, and each one was a little bit different but kept the same formula. So it's just fun. It's kind of like that old familiar.
Right. And Jacob?
I really love the world that it creates with Camp Crystal Lake and just summer camp and the whole atmosphere. I think I've always been drawn to just the environment of the franchise.
All right. Okay, so last time we chatted, y'all said y'all were going to try to play a little bit of the game yourselves. So were y'all able to do that?
Oh yes.
We did.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, tell me about your experience.
Well, I've grown up playing this game. I've had it probably since it came out, and it's just I think it's so much fun. And I've never beaten it. I've gotten really far,
Mhm.
and I've always used online player guides to sort of get me through the different aspects of the game. But yeah, I've never beaten it. I've just gotten really close, and Matt and I kind of ended up playing it, and Tim was watching us. And we were not successful in beating it this time either. But I think we did pretty well for not having played it for a little while.
Yeah,
Right.
Jacob was like the seasoned pro. Tim and I were kind of on the sidelines. I dabbled in it.
I did play, by the way.
Yes, yes.
Oh,
Minutes, but I didn't know what I was just punching the air, hopping unnecessarily.
Yeah.
Tim played so briefly that I can't even remember that he played. So
Yeah.
It was
Okay.
fun though. I mean, like I liked it. Well, I mean, this is my thing with video games is that I grew up when we had like Nintendo, and the most advanced system I had was Super Nintendo.
Right.
So games today are so far beyond my scope of understanding, but Nintendo games I can understand. Like if I spent maybe a few weekends playing this, I'm probably sure I could get it. When I was playing with Jacob though, I wasn't so good. He was good though.
Yeah.
I grew up with a Commodore 64. I played Spy Hunter.
I
Like I'm
grew,
pretty
yeah.
old. Yeah.
I grew up with the Commodore 64 too. I didn't get a Nintendo until like I was like 10 or 11 or so. And yeah, so Jaws was actually the first kind of horror related video game that I got. This one came along a little bit later. But one thing I do like about is the cast of characters that they've given you. Because the setting is a working Camp Crystal Lake, which we've never seen, right? The only working camp is Camp Forest Green. But that doesn't even really work for what, like a night or something, or even that, right?
Yeah.
So
right.
they go way out of left field with the plot, which is fine, I guess. I mean, you got to do what you got to do. But I always now I'm more familiar with because at the time I wasn't really that familiar with Friday the 13th, but now looking back, the characters here all remind me sort of some of the characters from the games. Like I always think Mark is like they named after him after the guy in the wheelchair, and maybe he's like if he was not in a wheelchair he would be like really athletic and jockey, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah,
uh
well,
Go
I'm
ahead.
just going to say I just love the names that they've chosen for the characters. It's such, quintessential 80s with names like Chrissy
Hmm.
and Paul and Mark and George and Laura. And
Hmm.
you just don't it just screams 80s to me, and I think they
Absolutely.
nailed that. Yeah.
I guess we finally
Absolutely.
figured out where Paul is.
Yes,
He's stuck
absolutely.
in a
He's
game.
stuck in the video game. That's still everyone's question.
Yeah. So, anyway, each character has, of course, their own balances of good versus not so good skills. And so it's really up to the player to try to figure out what is the best way to go about this. Now, when I was a kid playing this, I had no idea what I was doing. It gives you the little hint, which we'll see in a minute, of who does what, but most of the time, mostly it's just you're just out there and hopefully you can survive. And the one thing that always bugged me about this game, uh, and that is the children that you're supposed to be protecting, are in these cabins in the middle of a lake, which you cannot get to except by rowboat. And I don't know who thought that was a wise decision. And yeah, so anyway, there's going to be some questionable decisions by myself later. And then, of course, they give you these little cabins in the woods that you think, oh, I'm going to go to these cabins in the woods. Don't. Never, ever go into the woods. It is a lost maze of horrible, horrible stuff. But yeah, I decided to give it to Laura this time. I don't know why. I guess I just thought maybe she'd be good, and she ended up being my absolute final girl that took it all the way to the end.
Do you have
Uh,
any thoughts on why? I mean, I know you need villains in a video game that aren't just like the boss villain Jason, but why they picked zombies?
I guess it's just something that they can just go over and over, or like just keep them coming at you without any kind of explanation of where they're coming from.
Well, they always call Jason a zombie.
True.
Yeah, yeah. Well, he is kind of, especially after part six.
I
Mhm.
think it
Um,
it lulls you into just sort of this a little bit of repetitive gameplay so that it leaves room for Jason to pop out like he just did on the video and
right.
surprise you. And so I think the zombies help with that because you kind of forget about Jason for a little bit until he shows up.
Yeah. Well, it's always fun, especially when you go into these cabins, and you have to go into this type of gameplay, which I absolutely detested, because the cabins themselves are also kind of giant mazes. Once you get the feel of them, they're okay. They all have the same format. But then you have to go on this, well, again, if you don't know what you're doing, you don't know about these little notes, but they're these little notes that you can find that send you on this scavenger hunt trying to find better weapons. And that's what I started doing because this character started by the cave. So I just kind of went, let's go take care of and light all those fireplaces, like I said in the beginning, cinematic of what to do. So anyway, that's just kind of what the way I kind of play this game is just keep going until did I get the knife? I don't remember if I got the knife yet.
I think you're
Nope,
doing
still
so
got the
well.
stone.
I really do.
Right now you're throwing rocks at them,
Yeah,
right?
it's just stones. Yeah, that's what everybody starts with stones, and then everybody can hop around and get a knife pretty easily. But then, like if you defeat so many zombies, you get a machete, and that's it. And then you can go there's 3 days. So on the first day, if you go defeat Jason's mother with anything less than the machete, she'll give you a machete. If you defeat her with a machete, she'll give you, or greater, she'll give you an axe. And
Oh,
that's all well and good, but the weapon you really want to fight Jason with is a torch. I don't know why. I've never seen anybody fight Jason with a torch. Anybody remember that in any of the movies? It's not coming to me. Not ringing
no.
any bells with me. There's only also the other more powerful weapon is a pitchfork, which I've only seen used in part three.
Part two, Ginny.
At the end.
What but
A
wasn't it in
pitchfork?
part three? What
Well,
I
there
Yeah,
is,
yeah.
but
Ginny's famous shot is holding the
Oh,
pitch.
that's right. That's right. That's
the
right. But she
fox
never,
does get killed on
yeah, but she never got to use it. She just held it, right?
He just held it.
yeah.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
guess Fox got killed in part three.
and
This feels good.
the other guy
Yeah.
also got killed. The other biker.
I
Right.
love how the time is passing here and it's getting darker at the
Hmm.
camp. I've always thought that was very interesting.
Yes, and this is also the first instance when the children are in danger, and I always switch to a counselor who's nearest to the lake and then just send them to deal with it because trying to run from where you are, or especially trying to figure out where you are and trying to get there is always a mess. So I always just send another counselor to do it, which I do like being able to switch counselors. All you gotta do is go into a small cabin, you can switch to any other counselor that you want to. And then you have to do this, which most fans have regarded as some of the worst gameplay mechanics ever. And I have to agree,
Does
it's
Jason have a
terrible.
weapon yet?
No, he will evolve to get weapons. So after this encounter, he'll get a machete next time and then an axe after that.
So
Until you off him, and then he'll start all over.
you are having a conversation right now with us and playing the game at the same time.
No, this is actually pre-recorded. So
Oh,
this,
okay.
yeah.
It's like
When
I was like, you're amazing.
no, I that would be. I thought about doing that, but the setup for that would be incredible, and so many things can go wrong. So I figured it'd be easier just to do it as a commentary track. Yeah, those crows are annoying too. You are so at the mercy of everything in that lake because
Yeah,
Jason could just swim by you, can't avoid him or anything, and of course he's a torpedo in the water.
yeah. I've
Um,
never gotten through the lake without getting attacked by something ever.
Yeah. And now it's dark, and so the zombies will be coming and crows will be coming in greater number. If you go into the woods, you'll be attacked by wolves, which is never fun because
Oh.
they are incredibly strong too, because they take a lot of weapon hits to kill.
Yeah. Oh,
So
you've got a note
yeah,
there.
this is the very first note, and it's very vague. Like I said, it's just like a
Go into one of the cabins by the lake.
yeah. Could you be more specific, game, please? Anyway, so yeah,
Are you, what happens to, so Jason actually kills the children?
he can. Yeah, so you have 15 children you start with, but if you don't rescue them in time, he will start offing them. Yeah,
Yeah, he'll kill the children and he'll kill the counselors.
right.
And just going back to the woods really quick, I agree with you. Going in there, it's such a mess and it's hard to get around. But oh, you got attacked by Jason again just now.
It looks
Yeah.
like Jason had a boomerang.
No, that was, I think that was the machete, or it could have been the axe. I don't really know.
But in
Hard
the
to
woods,
tell.
sorry to keep going back to that. One
No.
thing with the woods, though, is that I've noticed that when I do go there, I tend to collect more of the medicines
Mhm.
than I do anywhere else. I don't know why, but it seems like they appear more frequently. I've just always thought that.
There
Um,
is, oh, go ahead.
I just think it's like you said, though. Oh, there's a medicine.
Mhm.
It's just when you get in there, though, you might not get out in time.
Yeah, if I ever go in there, it's to look for medicines or keys or anything else. And then, but I don't leave that little bitty area. I stay right there so I can see that path so I can get right back out. Um, Now, honest, I've never actually ran into Jason in the woods. I'm sure he can hit you in the woods, but I've never run into him there, nor do I want to. So, I just avoid it as much as possible. And there's my
You
next
can
note.
find a torch in one of the cabins by the lake.
Yeah, but that's the note you need. So whenever you go into that cabin, you will find the torch, and yeah, like I said, it's the best weapon against Jason.
And I
Um,
think you told me that when Jason attacks you on the campgrounds, as
mhm.
opposed to in the cabins when you're going after him, he takes more damage.
He does, yeah, and you're going to see that. That's pretty much how I've figured out a good way to beat him is that, especially on the third day when he's near impossible to defeat, in the cabins in that little Mike Tyson's punch out mode. Um, when he's outside, he takes a lot more damage, and if he's close to death, he'll just keep fighting you until one of you goes down. So if you have that torch, there it is. If you
You
have
got
that
it.
torch, yep, then it's really he'll go down really really quickly. As I think we'll see. I can't remember how far it is because it's at some point in the game, I just kind of say, all right, let's get it on, let's go, come on, you know. But I mentioned this when I was playing the game, and y'all can help me out. So of course, there's several scenes in the Halloween series where people actually go after Michael. They scream his name and hunt him down, right?
Mhm.
Okay, but I don't remember anyone ever doing that in the Friday the 13th series. Does anyone ever remember somebody going, Jason, and then going after him? The only thing I could think of is Tina, but she didn't really, she kind of went in his direction, but she wasn't like hunting him down, sort of.
Well, Tommy in part six, when he goes in
Well,
the water at the end,
Yeah,
he lures him out so
that's
he can
right.
set
That's
up a
right.
trap in
Yeah.
the
yeah, I
lake.
mean, there are some traps that he's lured into, but I don't recall anyone sort of just
Tony
going after him.
Tony
Yeah.
Goldman kind of he gets out of the car, puts a gun to him. So
Yeah.
there's
But he doesn't know who he is.
that's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah. He's just like some weirdo in a mask.
And then there's the whole opening scene of Jason Goes to Hell, which is fun because it's really
Right.
an FBI agent luring him out. So that
Right.
kind of, those are the only times I really think of them doing that, though.
Do you have the Nightmare on
Absolutely.
Elm Street game?
I do, and it's actually going to be next after this one. So
I
Okay.
love
I'll be
that
playing
game.
it.
I love
I
that
was more
game.
impressed with that game than
Yeah,
Friday the 13th.
that game is a lot easier to play and a lot easier to understand.
I agree.
To know what you have to do. It's a lot more simpler platforming style.
And it
Um,
looks like you just collected the flashlight.
I did. That lets you see in the cave. So if you go in the cave, you can actually see where the doors are, so you can find Jason's mother's severed head. But you can't go into her little cave cavern or whatever because her cabin is locked.
Yeah.
See, that
So
axe does look a little bit like a boomerang. It doesn't come
yeah,
back, but it flips around
I,
when
I
he
think I
throws.
think that was either an axe or a machete. But I think one thing I really like about this game, I mean multiple things, but I actually appreciate the graphics. I think they're pretty good for the era. To me, it's pretty dynamic in terms of the different things that you get to see. But for a Friday the 13th game, it has some things that you don't see in the films, but it has a number of things that you do, like the fact that they thought to include Jason's mom's head is
hmm
pretty cool because that's just sort of an artifact of the second movie.
right.
And so the fact that they did that and multiple other little things like that, it makes it feel very much on brand.
Yeah. So now he has that's
The
his
It
axe.
toothbrush.
looks like a
Yeah, it
toothbrush.
does. It looks like I always called it a hair comb, but yeah, toothbrush or something. I don't know, but yeah, that's but the weird thing is I don't think I could be wrong about this, but I don't think it does any more damage to you. I think it's just there for aesthetics because he
The
does enough damage to you already. I don't think having the different weapons makes it more damaging to the counselor. But again, I could be wrong about that. I've never really looked at the specifics of all the damages that you take from one thing to the other.
I'm guessing that you're correct because I've just never noticed a difference, but
Yeah.
it's hard to be sure.
So, but anyway, so yeah, just another poor Paul.
Oh no, Paul.
Yeah, it's okay. So those vitamins that you get, you can use them to cure other counselors. If you go into their cabin, you can cure them with them. Or you can keep them for yourself, and whenever you run out of health, you will automatically use them and regain some health, not much, but some.
I
Uh,
do love the wood setting. That's kind
yeah,
of this is
there's one of
really
those
cool. I mean,
wolves that never die.
It's sort of a very unforgiving game because one wrong move and you might have a torch, but you jump into another weapon that appears and it
hmm
downgrades you. Like you could have easily jumped into one of the knives that appeared and then
Right.
your torch is lost. So it's just very unforgiving.
Yeah, and there's no way to get it back too. I mean, I get you could go, I guess, go into another counselor and do the same scavenger hunt with them, and that would work.
Mhm.
But going back to what you said about trying to find items in certain places, there are fixed locations where you can find items easier by jumping around. Knives are everywhere, but medicines usually spawn in front of the big cabins. Keys have a certain place that they spawn into, and I know I'm still looking for a key. I can't believe I haven't found it yet. But I remember I was like, I'm not going to bother with Jason's mother in the first day because I already have the torch. I don't need an axe. So I guess I could have given it to someone else, but nah.
is it the kind of thing where if you, because I noticed you are really good at dodging Jason's attacks, if you always lean to the right when he attacks, do you always dodge it?
If in day one, yes, because he's very slow and predictable. But day two, he gets a little faster and a little less predictable. And in day three, he is, well, we'll find out when we get there. He's, I can't explain it. He is ludicrous speed and very unpredictable and almost impossible to dodge.
Wow.
So,
Jason
but
still
yeah, so I
alive.
finished him off here, but he's still alive and stronger than ever. So,
Jason never dies.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But the nice thing about day two is it's daylight again. You keep all your weapons, you keep all the stuff that you found from the previous day, and everybody's back to full health.
How do you know which day it is?
Well,
Uh,
because because when he defeats Jason the first time, it basically transitions to a different day.
Oh, I was
right.
like looking
Is
for
that
like
right?
a day of
Yeah,
two.
that's pretty much. Yeah, it
It
would be
just
nice
makes
to
it
have
big.
some kind of little, just a little blurb to let you know, but they didn't think beyond that point. These were not made by American game makers. These were made by Japanese game makers. So their interpretation of how, and who knows how Friday the 13th movies are portrayed in Japan. You watch certain movies here in this country and you get other countries' versions of them, and sometimes they're a little different.
And I'm curious, are you playing on an original NES right now, or are you playing on like a modified or a new version of it or
No,
something?
this is the NES.
Oh,
My
nice.
oh yeah, my old NES cartridge that still works for
Looks like
someone.
Yeah,
Medusa.
Jason's
Yeah,
mom's head seems to have a little more hair than I remember Betsy Palmer
and
having.
a lot of more teeth.
She looks like
Yeah.
Medusa
I
clapping the
love
pipe.
the head though.
And I know we can't hear the music right now, but to me, the music has always been scary. I think a lot of people have complained that it's monotonous
It is.
and everything, but oh yes, you've got the
You
sweater.
you
Yes.
took her sweater?
Yeah. Okay. So that's why I went after her on day two because that is the best item in the game for defense. Because whoever wears a sweater takes half damage from Jason. I know from Jason for sure. I don't know about everything, but I know they take half damage from Jason. And so that's why I said she just becomes kind of my final girl. But
Mm,
the boys can wear it and the girls can wear it, so that's a plus.
yeah.
Unisex.
I like that you've chosen Laura because she's not really the strongest character, but she's
Mm.
certainly not the weakest. She's sort of, in my mind, she's like third strongest.
Who's the
Yeah.
strongest?
I think it's
Jason.
between Mark and Chrissy who are the strongest. And we're talking strength in terms of how fast they
Right.
move and how high they can jump and how fast they can row across the lake, things like that.
Right. Mark can row the fastest across the lake. He can move the fastest and jump the highest, but his weapon speed, throwing skills are very low. He doesn't throw weapons very fast. Okay, so here's day two, Jason, and as you can see, he's already gone to ridiculous speed, but then he kind of slows down and goes back to his regular speed. But again, just whenever he feels like it, he jumps into, yeah. And it took me so long to try to figure out how to do that dodge where you have to dodge so early. Because if you dodge in time, like you did in the first day, he will get you with that second hit. So you have to dodge ridiculously early.
You're really good at it though.
Wow,
Yeah.
thank
Although
you.
those stones you're throwing,
Day three will prove that wrong.
it feels like I don't. Yeah, it took like 5 hits for his life to go down at
Oh,
all.
well, yeah, because I'm only using the stone.
Yeah.
Fortunately, no matter what weapon you're using, I think it's six, maybe seven hits of whatever weapon you got, unless he's close to death, will make him go away in these scenes. So, yeah,
You win
for
for now.
now. Oh gosh. Okay,
I mean, it's
so
smart though, the way that they intersperse Jason in the game. Because here's the thing, like Jason is your only villain that you know from Friday the 13th other than his
mhm,
mother. So you can't just save him for the very end or the entire game would have no Jason. So it actually is smart how they have him just like jump in for a little bit and then run off. And
yeah.
jump in and run off.
So yeah, okay. So I think at this point I'm going after, yeah, I think I'm just waiting, hopefully running into Jason on the campgrounds because as I said, he'll take more damage on the campgrounds.
That's so interesting because I love that approach because it's not the one that
I'm
I
also looking
typically
for more
try to do.
vitamins. Yeah.
Yeah,
So, oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I hadn't really thought of doing it that way with making sure to lean heavily into attacking him on the trail, but that's so clever.
Right. Well, and so I wish I could say I thought of it myself, but I've seen YouTube videos where people were like, that's the best way to do it. So like whenever Jason attacks a counselor, um, unless I'm nearby, I'll switch to that counselor, and if they can get outside, I'll just send them outside. Jason will go outside with them, and I'll do the battle outside because it's so much easier to deal with him.
Are you
Yeah,
still wearing the sweater?
Yes, you see how she's blinking? It's a disco
blinking.
sweater.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's got lights on
That
it.
is a
It's interesting
special
because
sweater.
when you fight Jason in a cabin and then he leaves, if you go outside quickly, he'll usually be around still,
Right,
which is pretty realistic if you think about it. Like he's not just going to
absolutely.
vanish into thin air. So,
Right. And sometimes if you're really lucky, you can, if you go in one of two, either left or right, if Jason went right after you fight him on the campgrounds and he walks off or runs off, if he went right and you go right, you'll fight him again, which is what I was trying to do here. But he obviously, even though he went off screen to the right, he technically went left.
Oh.
yeah.
So yeah.
Oh, at
Anyway,
nighttime.
and I
Yeah.
thought he went into that big cabin because sometimes he goes in those big cabins, but he didn't.
I I think that we're so lucky to have gotten this game because Nintendo really did lean into giving us games from movies, horror movies and
Mhm.
otherwise. I mean, between Jaws and A Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th, I even have Home Alone and Home Alone 2
Oh
on
gosh.
NES, and I had Gremlins 2.
Mhm.
I mean, Gremlins 2
I
on,
love Gremlins too.
I mean, it's great. So
Gremlins too.
it's just,
Of
we
this
were so lucky.
history.
Are there? I love that you did zombie. You're like watching
Yeah,
the
oh, it
video.
gets better when it comes back. There's like a zombie conga line. It's a lot of fun.
So,
Um,
question for you.
yeah.
I remember having Nintendo and all of the like cheat codes, especially for like
Mhm.
Super Mario Brothers to get ahead or to get something. Were there any cheat codes related to this game?
None that I'm aware of. The only cheating you could do is if you had the Game Genie. And yeah, that was the only way when I was a kid and I got that Game Genie. I'm like, where's my Friday the 13th? I'm putting this on and turning on infinite health, and we're taking this sucker down because I wanted to
Uh,
see the ending. I'd never seen the ending.
I still have never really seen the ending other than screenshots of it on the
Right.
internet because
It's very,
I've made
it's
it so
very
close.
disappointing. Yeah, it's very disappointing and sarcastic.
Yeah, I think that it's in line with how the game is, though. Very little
Yeah.
communication, very relentless in its
Mhm.
evil, and so it kind of makes sense. But yeah, I've heard that people were let down by how it wraps up at the end. But just if you can beat it, I mean, that's enough for me.
but
Right.
the boy, is he dead too?
This originated in 1988. How much were games back in 1988?
You know, I don't
$10.
know. Actually, okay, so I've had this discussion with several people online because of the new Switch 2, and people are moaning and groaning about how expensive the new Mario Kart game is.
Mhm.
Well, back in night, and I'll never forget this because it was the first video game that I ever bought with my own money. And it was Final Fantasy 3 for the Super Nintendo. It was brand new out of the box, 80 bucks in
Wow.
exact 95. That's how expensive it was back then. And I just thought that was okay. That's how much these games are, you know?
Yeah, well, this game is pretty expensive now. I can't
Oh
believe I
yeah.
still have the copy of the cartridge that I grew up with. I don't
Hmm.
have the box, unfortunately. I wish I did because that would
Yeah.
be
That would be
really
insanely how much as much money
yeah.
as I've seen those things being sold for. So but
We
yeah,
were
so
just
get
talking about this, like how funny it is how back then, when like VHS and these video games were really popular, and then a few years later, everyone wanted to get rid of them. We were selling them at garage sales because you
hmm.
wanted to move on to what's next. And then now, 30, 40 years later, everyone wants them
Oh
again.
yeah. It's the same thing with everything, comic books, Pokemon cards, everything is like
Records.
that.
Mhm.
Beanie Babies, are people still doing Beanie
Oh,
Babies? Is that a thing?
yeah.
We have a number of them here in our house. So
Who brought those into the house?
Who brought them?
Yeah. Is that you,
Uh,
Matt, or Jacob?
I
I
brought them here.
Oh,
I
okay, there we
think,
go.
and sometimes people will get them. They're cute little gifts. We're not like collectors by any
Yeah.
means, like
Oh
others.
yeah.
I
Oh,
remember the ladies I used to work with at Eddie Bauer. They would only talk about Beanie Babies.
Well, that must
that's
have been
insane.
fun.
I know it's like ladies, ladies.
So we're still in day two,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And you've
And
done some pretty significant damage to him.
right. Another good thing about this one, now at the time of recording, I have not yet released my Jaws episode, but by the time this comes out, the Jaws episode will have already aired. So, for anybody who has not seen the Jaws episode, go back and watch it or has never played the Jaws game. When you're whittling Jaws's power down, he actually regenerates. If he goes away and you don't go right after him again, that power he'll gain his health back. But with Jason, he does not do that. So that was one good plus side of the game on this. It's very unfair in a lot of things, but at least when you whittle Jason down, he stays hurt at least until the day is over and you finish him off again.
Yeah, you know, you were talking earlier too about how this was a Japanese made game.
Hmm.
And my perception is that a lot of the games that were released in Japan or maybe made in Japan were more difficult
Oh,
for American
absolutely.
audiences.
Hmm.
Yeah, because you know, what comes to mind is you know, Super Mario Brothers and then Mario, the second one, The Lost World,
Right.
which was the Japanese release, I guess, compared to
Hmm.
just the Super Mario Brothers 2 that we got in the US originally.
Yeah.
And so it makes sense that this game is so difficult. I'm wondering, does that, you know, does that track with the Nightmare on Elm Street? Was that also Japanese made as well?
I believe so. I could be wrong on that one. So,
Yeah.
but more than likely, since it's all made by the same, or all put out by the same company, because LJN did this one, Jaws and Nightmare. So
Yeah.
it's very possible that. Okay, so now I'm fighting Jason in Laura's house because I put Laura back in a cabin because I wanted Jason to try to go after her in the cabin. So let's see what happens here. But at least she has a sweater and she's got plenty of vitamins, so she's ready.
And why did you choose Laura?
Well, I don't like the high jumpers because they get very out of control when you're trying to jump over zombies or trying to jump over things, or especially jumping for items. If you have that really high jump, it's really hard to control and you might accidentally land on something you don't want to land on. So I picked Laura because she moves fast and gets does but just doesn't jump very high. That was an
Yeah.
example of him leaving and then being right outside and me able to finish him off for day two. But
Wow.
I
we
love that.
still haven't defeated Jason, and he's even stronger. But I love that look. That
I
is the
have
best
never,
view of
oops.
the of Jason in the game.
Yeah, sorry, I've never seen this where he gets defeated on the campground like that.
Yeah,
So that was really
But
surprising.
because you still haven't defeated, it can't even give you a compliment like you did pretty well, but it's just you still haven't
Yeah,
defeated.
you
yeah.
haven't really
Still,
defeated him, but
Not nice try.
you beat him for this that day, and I've never
right.
seen that happen on the
Yeah.
campground.
Do you
So
know
yeah.
why there was never a Halloween game? Like they have Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street. It just feels so easy that they could have replaced this whole setting, made it a neighborhood like
Hmm.
Haddonfield, houses like you're going trick or treating, and
Yep.
Michael just pops out in the street over and over. Like you could have literally copied this game
Hmm.
and did a Halloween version. I'm just wondering why they never did that.
Okay.
No one's interested.
Well, I have a theory on that. But Matt, help me out. In 1988, 89, Halloween 4, 5,
Yeah.
Both of them, yeah.
both of them. Yeah. Okay. So who owned the rights at the time? Was it still under Akkad
Oh
or
yeah, yeah. Trinkus?
Universal?
No, no, not Universal. I think
Because
the Accods, yeah, we're fully owning it. I think. I think.
it wasn't. It was put out. Part two was put out by Universal. Part three, you know what I
Oh
mean?
God.
Season of the Witch. I want to say Universal as well, but
Then maybe it was Universal. Maybe
I don't
I
know.
keep.
I just know by part six it went to Dimension, right?
Yes,
Yeah. Okay.
yes. NH2O or
Right.
Dimension.
So, oh, and here, okay, so we're about to see because he's attacking the children, and I'm like, I don't want him attacking the children on day three because he's very impossible to defeat, and so this is where I start making questionable decisions because I send him a smorgasbord of counselors and thinking maybe I can just get some hits on them, and if I lose a counselor or two, no big deal. But you can see here he is in full ludicrous speed the entire time and I lose Mark, I lose George, and I eventually lose Paul. And
Paul?
no.
yeah,
So basically, it comes down to the
it's
women,
all the
the
girls.
girls.
Yep. And then at one point, well, we'll see that part in a minute. But
Final Girls.
getting back to what I was saying about Halloween, I have a theory that whoever owned the rights to Halloween at the time of these games being made were probably not as free as New Line or Paramount was.
Uh-huh.
And giving them the rights. But then again, they got Jaws from Universal. But Jaws had just put out a brand new movie, Jaws: The Revenge, which is what the Jaws video game is based on. So
Now,
I don't know.
did they get the rights to John Williams' score for the video game?
They got no because they tweak it for like a couple notes, and they make and you only hear for like less than 10 seconds. So they could exactly, yeah.
Come
So
on,
yeah,
Paul.
and yeah, Paul is he's going. I got really good with him as far as I almost got him down, but I think Paul ended up nope. Yeah, see how much health he takes off just from one hit?
Wow. Yeah.
Insane.
One
So
hit.
that's why it's always a good idea to fight him outside if you can. But when he's in the kids' cabin, you have no choice.
Yeah, but again, I think that's pretty true to the movies. He's so tough in the movies. We just
Yes.
watched part 6 last night, and you know, he can take someone out in one hit. He can rip their arms off.
Yeah.
He's so strong, like brute force, and that translates to here. So I think they
Hmm.
got it right.
Absolutely. And of course, just gets stronger and stronger too.
Mhm.
Um, but
You
there
said day
is
three is the final day?
it is yes.
Oh, so you only get 3 days, like it's like like a weekend to
Yeah, I
get rid
guess
of Jason.
so. Yeah, exactly. But
Oh,
there is, Matt, a Halloween game that came out for the Atari in 1983, I think.
oh my God.
And I actually covered it in an episode that's out. So once we're done here, if you want to go check it out, you can see it is pretty much a very low res babysitter trying to avoid a very low res Michael Myers in a house that and trying to rescue very low res children from being killed. That's all it
With a
is.
low res butcher knife.
With a
Is
low
this
res
is
butcher
this
knife and a
considered
very
high res?
compared
Oh,
to Atari, yes.
Yeah, I mean, I've always really liked the graphics on this. I've never, because I've played some video games from the same era,
Hmm.
and I didn't even know what I was really looking at other than my avatar
Yeah,
moving around or whatever. And this, I'm never really confused about where I am or what I'm looking at. I think the visuals
exactly.
are really good. And it looks like her head has changed colors a
It
yeah.
bit.
Yeah, she's
is.
got a
This
new
is
do.
Yeah, this is
She
day
got highlights.
three, and if I defeated her, which yeah, I don't.
Oh man,
If I had defeated
Adversity.
her, I would have gotten the pitchfork.
uh,
Oh, you only
So,
got two
yeah,
counselors left.
the
two people
pitch
left.
the,
Yep.
the pitchfork is great because when you are moving on the trail
Hmm.
like this right now, you can launch the pitchfork and it can go through
Oh,
multiple zombies at once.
Yeah, I speed up the gameplay because it's just waiting for Jason to do something.
I was like, wow, you are moving.
Yeah, so I do that sometimes. Oh, okay. So
Oh,
here he finally found him on the trail. This is
Oh,
completely by luck. I was so happy that this
oh,
happened. And he let me pummel him to death, which I did not
oh,
expect.
Oh my
And
gosh.
you can see how much damage she barely took any damage at all compared to
yeah.
everybody
Oh
else
my
because of that
God. I
sled.
oh.
can't believe you did it.
You wait, is
So,
this the ending?
yep.
You have
Good
finally managed to
job.
defeat Jason, but is he really dead? We're not telling. End.
Oh
Yeah.
my God.
Gotcha.
I can't believe it. He looks so like tail between his legs, kind of.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
I can't believe that that's how you beat it. That is so different from the strategy that I have never succeeded with. So it
Yeah.
makes sense.
But had you defeated his mom's head?
I did in day two.
Oh,
So she
got it.
comes
Okay.
back as well. Yeah.
Okay, so but Jason is like you once you defeat him, you're fully
Right.
So you completely bypassed the pitchfork, which is
Yep.
so interesting to me because I've always gone through, I need to get the sweater and the
Hmm.
pitchfork and the torch and sort of and I take this approach of arming every single counselor with at least a knife, and I try not to let any of them die.
Hmm.
And you did it completely differently and you
Yeah.
still beat it. And I've been doing it wrong my entire life.
Well,
So
we kind of glazed over one thing, and it's probably a good thing that we did. I actually let some children die too, because
Oh,
I could not get rid of him in the children's cabin. So I'm like, you know what, kids, your parents shouldn't have sent you here. You
you
know,
win some, you lose some.
yeah. So if your parent, and by the way, if your parents ever say, hey, why don't you go? Well, I'm going to send you away to this place called Camp Blood. See ya. Yeah, you kind of get what you, yeah. So
Wow.
Is there a
anyway,
sleepaway camp?
no.
I don't think
Could
so.
you imagine them making that
No way.
game?
No way. Like,
Do
No,
they
as
have a
far as I
Hollywood
know.
Chainsaw Hookers game?
Not that I know of.
I would like the ending of sleepaway camp. I don't
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. Yeah.
know.
Wait, but
So,
is it true since you know everything about games? I had heard rumblings that they were releasing again, then the graphics that I don't understand, a very new game, Halloween type game, like on one of
yes.
the newest systems.
Okay, so I'm not sure what system it's going to hit. Depends on what system we're in at the time. But John Carpenter has said that he is on board with whatever company is doing it. I forget which one. And they are going to work on a true, for the fans type of Halloween game to be creepy. Oh, I know they're working with the same people who worked on Alien Isolation, I
oh
think.
wow. I mean,
If you ever played that game is scary, very, very scary and creepy. So if they go with that route, I'm down because
that
we
sounds
definitely need
amazing.
that.
I mean, John Carpenter is a big gamer himself, so
Hmm.
if this has his blessing, that'd be great.
I bet he would do a custom score for it.
I,
Absolutely. If he
I
doesn't do a score, they might as well just throw it in now. I mean,
but
they
for
please
this
make Breath music.
Yeah, for this game, Friday the 13th, I wish that it would be re-released on the Nintendo Switch or something. I feel
Yeah,
like that's a pipe dream. It's never going to happen or something,
probably
but
not.
I think it's so great. I think it's so much fun and it's definitely challenging. And clearly you can do it. You can beat the game in different ways, which
Hmm.
I've always kind of thought that the way that I read how to do it on this player's guide a long time ago was probably the best way, but you beat it so much faster than I ever could imagine. And yeah, I think a lot of people would love this. I've seen criticisms over it over the years, but I mean, you have a variety of characters with different strengths, so there's a lot
Hmm.
of detail there. You have a variety of different weapons that do different things,
Hmm.
and you have a setting that changes throughout time passes. I mean, it's pretty it's pretty involved in terms of the detail and how much is packed into it, considering how old this game is. So I think it's just I feel that it is underrated, but I don't know what the real consensus is out there amongst gaming fans and Friday the 13th fans. But I've always felt like it doesn't get its the real appreciation that it should. That's just
Right.
my perspective.
Absolutely. This game does have a lot of critics, and most of what they say negatively is correct. There are a lot of flaws in the game. But if you can get past them and look past them and try to figure out ways around them, it's still kind of a fun game to play, even after all these years.
Yeah, yeah. I've played games like, The Terminator and
Hmm.
Terminator 2 on NES, and those are I can barely get through the first sequence on those. There's not a lot of reward. And at least with this, right when you start playing, if you start throwing rocks and killing zombies, you're kind of rewarded a little bit pretty quickly. You
Right,
you get the lighter, you get knives, and so it very much encourages you to keep going because
right.
you're getting these upgrades so quickly. So that alone sets the game apart for me with some of these other horror movie video games
Yeah.
from this era.
Plus, it's interesting how Nintendo let this game be made, as well as other horror movie games, because they're so family friendly in
Mhm.
what they do. But I mean, as you saw, there was no blood, there was no gore, there was no anything, quote, inappropriate. It's just, if you're familiar with the subject matter, you know it. If you're not familiar with the subject matter, you can still play it. It's just an interesting platform.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
just basically having another villain like you would in any
Yeah,
other game, you know?
but that's a good point though, because Nintendo is known to be the more family friendly, and yet they had this era where we got games like this,
hmm,
where, they're based on movies in which people are being killed in these movies in not just horror movies, but action, like I
right.
referred to the Terminator before and everything. So it's sort of kind of like a lost era to me. And I just so badly wish that Nintendo would just like take the lock off of the gate and just let these things come through to the new era on the Switch or Switch 2 and everything.
Yeah,
Like I said before, I don't think it's ever going to happen, but
probably
oh my
not.
gosh, so many horror fans would be thrilled if they would do that.
Absolutely, I agree. So, final thoughts, Tim.
I found it like a blast from the past. I mean, like I did play this game with my friend Suzanne because her brother had it. But we
Uh-huh.
were talking like, but I remember loving the cover of Jason, like from part 7. So I was
Yeah.
like, oh, this is gonna be awesome. But then when we played it, I was like,
Not
this is not
awesome.
the movie. This
No,
isn't I
it's
wanted the
definitely
movie.
not the movie. Yeah, but
Yeah.
I'm with you on the cover art. And I'm glad you caught that was from part 7. So,
Yeah.
yeah, because that was my next question, but you said it. So good. Matt, final thoughts?
From a nostalgia factor, I think it's really cool. Like Jacob was saying, like when I see these games and like the 8-bit graphics, it reminds me of being a kid and how excited I was to play every new Nintendo game. Because there was a period of time in my life when I was buying every Nintendo game and really into it. And since my knowledge and skill level of video games kind of halted at that level, these are the types of games, the only ones I could still actually play today and in some sort of semblance of doing well. So I feel like it was, it's a fun game. I think that people probably judge it harshly because it's very simple. But what are you going to do with that level of graphics at that time? So I think that I think it's fun. And like Jacob said, like horror fans, just the fact that they get to have Jason in a game with a camp setting and those little tie-ins make it really fun and worthwhile.
Absolutely. Jacob, do you have anything to add?
Oh, I mean, I cannot sing the praises of this game enough. I love it so much. I mean, I understand the criticisms. I think you're correct that they are valid, especially from a gamer's point of view. But I grew up with the game, and when I was a kid, I wasn't very good at it. I didn't understand it. There's not a lot of instruction in the game to really know how to beat it or what to do. So my appreciation for it has only grown as I've gotten older because you can access player guides and communicate with other people, such as yourself, who know how to play it. And honestly, just watching you play it in this session has sort of blown my mind a little bit because I really had it in my head that I had to do it a certain way
Mhm.
if I ever wanted to beat it. And now it seems like there are more more possibilities and more routes that you can go to actually defeat Jason all 3 times over the course of 3 days. So, if anything, just watching you play it today has made me more interested in it, and I'm kind of curious to see if I can go back and beat it myself. So, I loved
Absolutely.
it. I'm so glad that we were able to watch you play it.
Well, thank you so much for coming in and taking time out of y'all's incredibly busy schedule because y'all put out episodes every other day, it seems, and I don't know how y'all find time for it.
Well, thank
So
you.
absolutely. And there's going to be links to your YouTube channel, your Patreon. I'm going to put it down in the description so people can check y'all out. If you love horror movies, if you love anything horror related, this is the podcast to listen to. They get celebrity interviews, they talk about whatever horror movies are brand new. They go back and do retro things. They bring in silly little guests like myself sometimes and talk about whatever it is that's horror related and give off news, keep us up to date on the newest horror things, Scream 7, and all those other things. So I can't sing the praises enough. So check them out in the description and give them a like and subscribe. Give myself a like and subscribe because I know it'll help all of our channels out a lot. So thanks so much, you guys, for doing this for me, and I really appreciate it. And Matt, I'm just hypnotized by your shirt there. The
Oh, you
Killers,
mean
as
all
it
the
says.
slashers in a band? They're called the
Yeah,
Killers.
that's awesome. That's awesome. Okay. All right. So with that, this is your absent friend and the Happy Horror Time podcast signing off.